We posted this position. Mike Sullivan's here today, can give you more details. We posted this for, I believe, a month. We had 9 citizens respond, and we interviewed all 9 in person. I had a panel consisting of David Neville, chair of the Urban Renewal Board, who is also here today and might want to comment, Steve Cox, our chief of staff, Peter Wysocki, our planning director, and Mike Sullivan and myself. So we interviewed all 9 candidates, and I will tell you that we had a number of really outstanding people in terms of their skill sets and their experience. All 9 were just great people. I hope we can find other ways for each one of them to engage with the city. And at the end of that, our panel agreed on 3 appointees. 2 are here today, the other is on spring break out of the city. First is Ms. Valerie Hunter. I'm going to ask Valerie to please join me. If you would, Valerie, right next to me here. We are appointing Valerie to the 1-year unfulfilled term of Rosemarie Venezia. Valerie has a background in business, strategic and tactical planning, fiscal and program management. She's a successful business owner of 4 entities, including currently president and co-owner of the Hunter Group USA, LLC. She has an education in business and has served on various boards, including the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce. I might add, as an aside, apparently she's a great golfer. Well, at least I know that you're heading up the women's group at Country Club of Colorado, I think, so that tells me something right there. So anybody who's a great golfer, I appreciate, given my stature in that sport. But anyway, I'm just so happy that Valerie's willing to step forward because she brings a totally different element to the board. And Mr. President Pro Tem, I appreciate your counsel on this. You're on that board, thank you. And we've got a lot of great people in real estate, who are real estate professionals, experts on that board. Valerie brings, in my opinion, a broader perspective of business, strategic planning. She had a great career in high tech, I believe, and did very well with that. So Valerie is one of the appointees for whom I'm asking your confirmation. Next is no stranger, Mr. Nolan Schreiner. Nolan, if you would join me, please. Why don't you stay up? Let's just all stay up here together. Well, I'm going to embarrass Nolan because those of you that don't know Nolan, I'm just going to tell you, Nolan Schreiner is one of the most preeminent planners ever in the history of this city, truly. He, before that, was with the city, I believe, for a period of time. Nolan Schreiner has been responsible for the planning of some of the most well-designed communities in this city's history. Many who were developed really decades ago that have enduring value. He gets it in terms of the importance of the long term of everything that we do, that every decision we make needs to be based on what it's going to look like for the next generations to come. Nolan is a retired land planning specialist, and I might add a world-class fly fisherman. Used to go to Montana at least once or twice every summer. I don't think you've been doing that lately, but another great athlete in our midst here, a great fly fisherman at least, among other things. And as I said, he has an extensive background in city planning. He knows the city inside out. He knows downtown inside out. His education includes a master's degree in urban geography and regional and city planning, and a BS in economic geography. Nolan is currently a member of the Urban Land Institute, which is a very prestigious honor, and serves on the Colorado Springs Comprehensive Plan Task Force. We're honored to have you step forward, Nolan. And we're asking Nolan to fill the term of Rosemarie Venezia, which is 4 years, but on the advice of the city attorney, if you agree, we're going to add 1 more year to it. And the reason is, Mr. President Pro Tem, as you might agree, we need to get back to where we're having 2 board members per year being appointed and confirmed, as opposed to a larger number where we have such a big turnover at one time. So with your agreement, Nolan will serve a 5-year term. And thirdly is Peter Scoville, who is out of town today. We sent you all, I think, their backgrounds on the 18th, about a week ago, and I encouraged you to interview them if you had questions. And so with respect to Peter Scoville, I'm sorry he can't be here, but we are proposing Peter for a 5-year term, and several reasons. One, Peter is the co-founder and owner of the Colorado Springs Cushman and Wakefield Alliance, commercial real estate brokerage firm founded in Colorado Springs. His education includes a bachelor's in English from Colorado College. He has served on various boards and committees, including serving as the president of the Realtors Commercial Industrial Society. Peter was instrumental in attracting the Pro Cycling Challenge to Colorado Springs and getting it to return. He also is an athlete. He has climbed Mount Everest. First time I met Peter, he was just getting out of college. He wanted to interview some people, and but he had to put me off for, I think, 7 weeks because he was going to be climbing Mount Everest. He made it back, which is the good part of that. And so I didn't do this on purpose, but we have 3 really great athletes here, I think, coming on the Urban Renewal Board. And Peter brings one other element I think is very important. He's a young professional. We already have Tiffany Colbert, you may recall, who we brought on a year ago. So we will now have 2 young professionals, Tiffany Colbert and now Peter Scoville, on this Urban Renewal Board, which begins to allow us to have some succession over time. And I hope we can have more young professionals as time goes on. So with that, thank you, and be glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, appreciate confirmation of these 3 appointees.
Okay, thank you. Before we take questions, why don't we read this item into the record so that we, 8A. Mr. Powell, would you read that in, please?
Item 8A is the confirmation of 3 Colorado Springs Urban Renewal Authority board members. The summary as a background, CSURA Commissioner Susan Wood Ellis, term expires April 1st, 2014. After the interview process was complete for the upcoming vacant seat, 2 additional board members, Rosemary Venezia and David Isbell, decided to withdraw from continuing on the board.
Okay, would both of you like to address the council? Do you want to do that? So, please come forward.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity. I'm very excited about becoming part of this advisory group. It's the things that are going on and the growth of the city and the success of the city are very dear to my heart, and I just appreciate it and am honored to be a part of it.
Okay.
I think I know most of you, and it's kind of funny, after I retired, you want to give back to the city that's done so much for me over the last 45 years. Actually, 45 years ago, I was probably standing in this very room in the other direction because the council chambers were reversed. It used to be back there, presenting to the council as a young planner in the planning department. And so now I'm standing in front of you at the other end of the room as a volunteer and trying to give back to the city. And I think this is a great opportunity.
Okay, questions for the people? Any questions?
Mr. President, Chairman of the Urban Renewal Authority would like to
Okay,
speak.
great. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, David Neville, Chair of the Urban Renewal Authority. Very briefly, I would like to echo what the mayor said about each of these candidates. I was part of the interview panel, and I would like to say I think we've identified 3 excellent candidates with a depth and breadth of experience that will contribute greatly to the Urban Renewal Authority, and I urge your support of all 3 candidates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Miller?
I have just a question in the panel. If there were specific issues related to the responsibilities of the Urban Renewal Authority, one of which is recommending the use of eminent domain in urban renewal areas. And I'm just wondering if either of the candidates that are here today have any thoughts on that, or if that was an issue that was discussed at all.
Well, they can certainly step back forward, Counselor. I believe you interviewed these folks, didn't you? Or was it?
No, sir.
You did not. Well, you had an opportunity to. But I'd be happy to have both of them come up. The question is, I guess, your position on eminent domain or condemnation. Would that be the question?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. Why don't you both speak to that, then, please?
Well, I have a lot to learn about when and whether or not that is an appropriate recommendation. That being said, I do believe that it is most definitely the last resort. Beyond that, I can't speak to the specifics because I don't have those. Thank you.
Again, I've been around the city for a long time. The only time I remember the city ever using eminent domain has been with utilities on utility lines. Maybe a case in terms of a roadway. I would see eminent domain as not being used in Colorado Springs for the type of development that we're talking about. However, I have seen eminent domain used where it's a positive thing. People have asked to use eminent domain because it's a city policy. It's set up in a way to give a property owner the value back to their property, relocation expenses, on and on and on. When I was a planner in Peoria, Illinois, they would give people the option of using eminent domain in their urban renewal plans, and many of them used it because the policy of the city back there was to establish 3 appraisals, take the average, give 20% higher than that, and account for all relocation expenses, and it was an easy process. In Colorado Springs situation, I just don't see using it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor, if I could just add, as you well know, the ultimate decision on economization, eminent domain, is yours. City Council has control of that. At least I hope that's still the case unless the law has changed. So, but I also agree that people who serve on urban renewal should be viewing that as something they would never recommend unless there were extraordinarily important circumstances with which hopefully you'd already be in agreement before it was ever formally proposed. I don't think this community, including myself, have any interest in eminent domain or condemnation, certainly not for commercial purposes.
Okay. Councilmember Knight.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at your letter. It is dated March 18th, but the email copy I received was not until last Thursday, and so I was not able to sit down and take advantage of your offer in there to sit down and interview him before today. I'm also looking at the new rules that we just passed as far as the confirmation process, and it does give a council member 5 days to which to ask on there. So while I'm sure these are very the best of the best of all 9 people that stepped forward, I would like to still take advantage of that and have a chance to interview them. I think the process that we went through with both Dan Gallagher and Wynetta Massey, I found that to be very educational on their views and their foresight. So not to slow things down, but also to make sure that we are doing our due diligence on this side of the dais. I would ask a motion that we delay the actual vote on their confirmation until our next meeting on the 8th of April so that we could sit down and meet with them like we did with Ms. Massey and Ms. Gallagher.
I'd like to comment on that, Mr. President. I'm personally aware of that email came over here on Tuesday, the 18th. Maybe you didn't see it for some reason, Counselor. You know, we're talking about volunteers here for board. We're talking about a confirmation. We're not talking about the next group, which are city employees, which under charter you have the right to confirm. But to me, confirmation is different from approval. To me, confirmation is making sure that the appointees' background and qualifications are appropriate and that there are no apparent conflicts of interest. I'm sorry if you didn't feel you had enough chance to vet that. I would hope you would have some trust in the chairman of the Urban Renewal Authority, who is going to be directly involved with these people, and professionals on my staff, 3, Steve Cox and Peter Wysocki, who has a deep background in urban renewal from other communities, and Mike Sullivan, of course, our HR director. So technically, I believe I can just show up here and say, here, Mike, appointees, please vote. I didn't do that. We'd like to give you more time. And I think what happened here is we thought we had one person, and then after the closing of the posting, David called me and said, well, we got 2 more falling off here. And so we had to scramble to go back and go through that interview process. So I apologize if you don't feel you've had enough of background on it. But I would just caution that these are volunteers, these are not employees. And so I just would respectfully ask you reconsider that.
Okay. Mr. Knight, Councilmember Knight, did you make a motion? Is there a, since we're at that place, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to delay the confirmation of these 3 appointees for 2 weeks so that council can have an opportunity to be able to interview them. This is also a public agenda item, so the audience can also speak to this. So we'll take audience participation this time. Mr. Bruce, do you want to come forward and we will have you speak? So
it's my role here to urge that you ask the tough questions, so I'm going to ask them of you, so that I hope that you do put it off for a vote until you actually get the information. Don't just say, I'm from the government, you can trust me. The Urban Renewal Authority is going to be at the vortex of this looming conflict called City for Chumps, City for Champions, whatever you want to call it. I think that you have a duty to wait 2 weeks and make sure that you all have an opportunity to specifically ask these people their view of the role of somebody on the Urban Renewal Authority, and if they will commit that they will not issue tax increment financing, that they will do something to correct what the mayor called a great performance, which to me includes having a default on North Nevada, haven't paid their debts on the tax increment financing. I don't consider that to be something laudable. I think that they need to be asked directly, will you commit not to expand the boundaries of the Urban Renewal Authority without the approval of council, or to set up a substitute or expanded Urban Renewal Authority? And do you have any, try to get from them in writing their views on issuing tax increment financing and on using public funds with or without council approval. I think you ought to find out if they think that they have the authority to go ahead and help Mayor Bach with the City for Champions proposal and bypass the city council. 5 of you have publicly said you think a vote of the citizens is required, and I think you ought to know before you vote to pack the Urban Renewal Authority with people who might have the opposite view.
Okay, other people who want to testify from the audience?
I think any time a recommendation for board membership for the city, if there's a feeling that you do not have all the data necessary to make a prudent decision as a member of the city council, I think you should be able to request that you be given a little more time to ascertain the information that you want. And I'm saying that it's not going to hurt if it's going to be 2 more weeks before the confirmation is made. So I feel that that's a good request, and I think that if the rest of the council members, so many of them believe it's reasonable, I think they should use judgment that shows prudence in this matter that's before the city council today.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who want to come in? Thanks.
Good afternoon, David Neville, Chair of the Urban Renewal Authority. Just like to respond to the comments that were made. I believe you're all aware that the use of tax increment financing, the boundaries of urban renewal areas, the use of eminent domain, that's all subject to council approval. Urban renewal plans come to council before the Urban Renewal Authority has any authority to act. So we do not have any unilateral authority to act in the way that's been suggested. With regard to the appointments that are before us today, if you feel that you need additional time, I would suggest that we have a meeting towards the end of next month. So I would suggest that the approval not be delayed beyond the next council meeting, if it needs to be delayed beyond today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett.
Well, I want to tag on to what the chair of Urban Renewal has said. I feel that the due diligence has been completed. I think we have 3 outstanding candidates. In fact, I'm looking forward to working with all 3 of them, because we do have critical issues that we're going to be addressed over the next few years. And I think I can't think of 3 more stronger candidates. I think they've been fully vetted. Personally, I would prefer to approve them right now. I agree if we have to delay it, I will not vote to delay it, but if we have to delay it, it's important that we have them approved prior to our meeting in April, because of the significant workload and the learning that has to, and orientation that has to take place. Preferably, I would like to have them approved today so that we have that time to April to prepare these individuals for the work that needs to be taking place. I also want to recognize that the state provides, state of Colorado provides the guidelines in which urban renewal is operating, and we are strictly required to adhere to those guidelines. So I would prefer for us to move forward with this vote because I can't think of three more stronger candidates.
Oh, wait, well, you can speak longer than 3 minutes if you want.
I think I was through, yeah.
Councilmember Snyder.
I too will not be supporting the motion to postpone. I read the packet, got the 3 resumes, got the background, had a chance to call one person up and talk to him. So I think it's my understanding that these folks need to be approved so that they can get to work. I understand at the next meeting that the Urban Review Authority Board wants to do their annual elections, and they postponed it in part because of the vacancies. So they were hoping to have these vacancies filled, and to me, it's important for them to get on board and get going, so.
Councilmember Martin.
I also will be supporting moving forward today. You know, in my time here on council, I've seen urban renewal come forward with several projects, urban renewal projects for our city, and they have all benefited us greatly between North Nevada and Ivy Wild. And I think the work is important. I think TIF financing is important. I think it's one of the tools that the city has to encourage development. And so I would like to see us move forward with the confirmations today.
Other comments? Councilmember Collins.
I will be supporting the delay due to the time frame. I am not a supporter of tax increment financing. If anybody does any research across the United States, it's failing all over in major cities. I forwarded information to council members, and I think we need to be really careful in Colorado Springs as city council members and citizens on how we use tax increment financing. Again, we're picking winners and losers. And the Urban Renewal Authority, their focus is downtown. I just don't think it's valuable to pick winners and losers with urban renewal authorities and also improvement districts all over Colorado Springs. Thank you.
Councilmember Pico.
I've reviewed the resumes. I'm very comfortable with all 3 of the appointees. I had the privilege of interviewing at least one of them for another position. I'm ready to confirm them. And at the same time, I would like to honor the request to delay for if one of the council members has questions to be answered. And that is the only reason I would go along with the delay at this point. But I'd like to honor that request. So I'll do that, but I am ready to confirm these 3. I think they're good and not too concerned with the issues that are on the table.
I'm happy to respond too. I am comfortable with the qualifications that you have, but in deference to my colleagues, I will also vote to give us an opportunity to have a conversation with you. We're honored to have an opportunity to be able to confirm you, and it gives us a chance to be involved with you and have a dialogue with you and understand your priorities and how we work together better, and we take that seriously. And so we're honored to take our time and your time and be able to do that. And so I will be also voting to have a conversation with you. So, and it's nothing against the appointees, mayor, or anything of that nature. This is just a process that I think we can do within the next week and get this done and move forward and proceed.
Well,
and so I think we will do that.
Let me just say a couple things. Counselor, that's the law. These people aren't supporting or opposing tax increment financing. If you don't like the law, change the law. Honestly, their job is to bring forward, I think, I'm right, is to bring forward ideas for your consideration. One of the reasons I picked these 3 particular people to add people like Merv Bennett is we need urban renewal to be more than receiving interest from developers. We need to be more proactive. I believe we have urban renewal areas that have been inactive, for example, on the books for a long time. We need to revisit whether those should continue or should they be sunsetted. And as to South Academy Boulevard or wherever, I believe that urban renewal has a role in being more proactive and thinking through with help how could urban renewal help in areas maybe we all haven't thought about? Not to be ideologues by any means. And in the end, it's your decision to make on tax increment financing. I know that's very controversial. So just to offer that. And then secondly, I apologize for not giving you more time. Last year, I brought, I think, a couple people forward. There weren't any questions. They were confirmed. So I heard yesterday there was a concerned council about tabling this. I would just say that we'll try to get better, giving you more time in the future. I am personally confident we don't have any ideologues here. We don't have people either for or against City for Champions, as far as I know. I've asked them, what's your position going in? And I'm going to expect them, as you should, to be professional, open-minded, and to provide you the very best counsel they can have.
Great.
Okay.
We appreciate that, and we will do this expeditiously if this vote passes. So is there any further discussion? Okay, sure. Come ahead.
Mike Sullivan, City HR Director, and you may think I sound like a broken record on this, but we're allowing process to get in the way of progress on this. This has a chilling effect. I'll hit the note again. These are volunteers. They've been fully vetted. The due diligence part has been completed. They're known in the community, and we're allowing process to get in the way of forward movement on this. I'm very worried. My short message is the chilling effect this has for volunteers coming forward. We had 9 people, all of who would have been great people. We did due diligence with the people that you heard on that panel. We're bringing that forward to you today. Please don't allow a chilling effect to be introduced into this volunteer process. Thank you.
Further comments? With that, we'll open the machine and vote. This is to delay the confirmation until we have a chance to have an interview with the people. Let's vote. That passes on a 5-3 vote. We will set up something as soon as we possibly can with you and have an interview with you and have that conversation hopefully next week. So thank you very much for volunteering to do that, and we look forward to that conversation with you.